Okay, alors welcome to the new episode of a Thought Experiment.
Welcome to episode 21 of a Thought Experiment. If you have two hands free, then we are going to use them to start the episode. If you don't, you can just listen along and begin to visualize with your mind. So if you have two hands free, we're going to take them, we're going to put them together, and we're going to start to create some friction with our hands. Just some internal heat here. You can increase the speed. 3, 2, 1. Now we're going to place both your hands over your heart space here, and we're just going to close your eyes. Feel the heat from your hands connecting with your heart space as we just begin to relax, settle into this space. You can switch which hand is coming into contact with your chest, allowing the breath to just move at its natural pace and depth. Just creating this mind-body connection between the brain and the heart. Feeling the heart space expand and open to the possibilities of what could be today. Allowing the muscles in your shoulders to relax, your arms to relax. Everything's relaxed. We're opening up to possibility here. Now with keeping your hands on your heart, we're going to exhale all of the air out of your lungs, bringing your navel to your spine. Bring it in and upwards, and then we're going to fill up on the inhale through your nose. Big inhale through your nose, and we're just going to hold here for a moment. Feeling this heat that we're creating. You can let yourself exhale, bringing the navel back to the spine. At the bottom of the exhale, we're just going to hold for a moment. Exhaling, and we can hold. Your eyelids can relax here. Muscles in your face can relax. Do one more round. So we'll inhale, fill up big through the belly, expanding laterally through the ribs, up into the chest. We're holding everything here. And let it go. Letting yourself sink into the space that supports you, whether it's a chair beneath you, or your feet on the ground. And at the bottom of the exhale, we're just going to hold one more time. Holding on the exhale feels like we're in the void. Senses become a little sharper. And we'll just release. Come back to your natural breathing rhythm. Just take a few moments now with your eyes closed, hands on your heart, to feel your heartbeat. The natural rhythm of your heartbeat. Beautiful. You can release your hands down by your sides, shake it out a bit. Just coming back into this space. If your eyes were closed, maybe you open them now. Coming back into that space. Wonderful. Now that we're all in a similar wavelength and we're tuned in, centered, aligned, ready to receive, start this episode by talking about where we're at currently on the season here in Germany. We have the playoffs here. We just finished our first 2 games of the playoffs. It starts in the semifinals, so 4 teams from the league make it to the playoffs. And before I get into the results of the weekend, I want to explain my mindset coming into these playoffs. I've taken this time through the past week. We had 2 weeks off from the end of the regular season until this past weekend, which was the start of the playoffs. And I took that time to align myself, and I took it as a spiritual journey, such as life, but specifically this pursuit of the playoffs, of the championship that we're pursuing. And I did this by aligning myself with nature, visualizing with my mind and body, and allowing myself to be present into the journey that we're going to embark on through these playoffs, because it's a second season. When you get into any type of postseason play, it's a second season. And having experience being able to win, be on teams that have won gold medals, national championships, league championships, there's an energy that's felt amongst a group when something special has the opportunity to take place. And being a leader, it is part of my job to set the tone for how we are going to embark on this journey. And so that being said, this last Monday I was running out in the park. And I'm running, and to my left, a couple miles in, I see this guy down on a gravel basketball court. And he's down there doing kickboxing against a tree just by himself. I think, oh, that's interesting. So I keep running another quarter mile, and something in my spirit tells me to turn around to, go ask that guy if I can work out with him. So I just listen to the spirit. I turn around, I go down there, I start chatting with him. Turns out he lived in the States for 3 years. He was born in Germany and lives here now. And so we did some pull-ups, we did some push-ups, and he started, doing some flow type exercises, and he tosses me this stick, a big dowel. And he basically just says, go, you can do whatever. I kind of looked at him like, what am I supposed to do? So he takes the stick back and he starts just doing anything, whatever movement, comes to him. So, okay, and I start moving around with the stick, and it's like dusting off cobwebs, right? Like at the start, there's part of me that feels awkward doing it because you're worried, am I doing it right? There is no right. In the flow experience, there is no right or wrong. It's an out-of-body type experience. And after a few minutes, you just essentially lose the self, which is flow. You lose the conscious. And it was after doing it for a few minutes, I felt a difference in my body. And then he brought out some different type nunchuck type things, and we were moving around with that, and it's all just freedom of movement. So super cool. I mean, I meet this guy in a park randomly, and I have this really powerful experience. So for the rest of the week, last week, we met up and we did some different workouts, and he is our guest on the show today. His name is Leo. And I've continued to use the stick, on my own, and I continued to tune into nature and leverage the visualizations that I've done for so long. Now, the difference was, as I continued to do these visualizations of performing at the highest level during the game, what I felt was different. It was no longer just a visualization in my mind. There was like a clear movement of the experience to my body. And as I'm visualizing, as I'm getting into this visualized flow state, I'm not moving, but my body, I'm getting this surge of energy in my body. This life force is just coming through me. And when the game started this weekend, on Saturday, it was as if my body just turned on. Everything turned on that I had been visualizing. I was visualizing from the point of putting my pants on, to what I'm going to eat that day, to how I'm going to feel, to how I'm going to warm up, to what the dirt's going to feel like on my feet, to what the weather's going to be, how the pitcher looks on the mound, how I feel, how my jersey fits me, all of those things. And it was as if as soon as I put my pants on and I looked down, the experience I was about to have on the field, I had already lived in my mind. It was just integration. And for the actual results, this weekend, we won the first game 6-2, and we lost the second game 13-10, bit of a barn burner. Personally, on the weekend, I finished 6 for 9 with 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. For myself, I felt in complete control the entire time. I was in complete flow for 2 days straight of baseball games. Not even hitting in the field, base running, noticing everything that's going on. And it's not a coincidence that I practice these flow type experiences and then I go and live that flow in the game. And now we go to Hamburg this weekend and we have to win, it's first team to win 2 games. Essentially, it's a 5-game series for first team to 3 wins. It's a 1-1 series. And now it's not about repeating the experience or the feeling that I had or the results that I had. It's about creating a whole new one. I just give myself the opportunity to create a whole new experience and leverage the tools that I enjoy, whether I was playing baseball or not. I've learned this flow with the dowel, sitting in the creek with my feet in the creek, soaking in the sun. These are tools you can do if you're an athlete or not. But I just leverage those tools for my own journey. And now we create into this next experience of this upcoming weekend because no one knows what's going to happen. I can only prepare myself to the absolute best of my ability, mind, body, and soul, to be prepared for anything that comes. And thus, in practicing flow and experiencing flow, whether it's with the dowel, in nature, sitting anywhere, by the river, well, baseball is just another extension of that flow. Flow becomes the default experience. And that's something that I learned from Leo this past week. It was the most powerful thing that I learned from him this past week. He's an artist, a musician, kickboxer, athlete, a very interesting individual. And I think that through the interview, you'll come to realize the same things that I did, that he's got a beautiful mind and the way he thinks is extremely interesting. And there's things to be learned, just like there's things to be learned from each of us. And I'm thankful for the meeting that we had and to meet a fellow soul who is on this incredible journey of just self-exploration. And that's the whole point of this podcast in its entirety, is to motivate others to be their absolute best selves. And I think the interviews are super fun because get to hear from other viewpoints, random people. This guy in the park that I just saw as I was running by, and he's kickboxing a tree. So with that being said, let's send it into the interview, and I'll see you on the other side for the word of the week. Let's take the first few moments to just settle in. Start to draw our awareness towards your belly button. Take a nice smooth breath in through the nose. And then we'll extend the exhale out through the nose or the mouth. Another smooth breath in through the nose. And extend it out through the nose or mouth. Sinking in to the chair that's supporting you. One more in through the nose. And out through the mouth. All right, now that we're settled into the space, if someone was to buy a ticket to the movie of Leo, and they didn't know what they were going to watch, and they watch the movie up to this point of your life, and they walk out of the theater, and they call their friend, and they say, hey, I just watched this movie about Leo, what would they tell them that the movie is about?
Struggling artist.
Okay, expand on that.
Well, a lot of times I feel like, well, that's a recent realization. I feel like I put a lot of artistry into what I do. I feel like everything is art. It's like the art of living, the art of, exercising. There's a certain art to everything you can do. So, yeah, jack of all trades and all that kind of stuff. So as a fun way, yeah, I would say, yeah.
Okay. So they tell them this and then follow me into the future here. So they go to this movie and now imagine that this interview cuts off, right? I don't see you for a year and I call you up. I'm like, Leo, dude, what's going on? You're like, Morgan, I'm the best I've ever been. What would have to happen in that year for you to say that?
All of my projects that I'm currently working on come into fruition, or not even all of them, just parts of them, just actually minor steps of them, if you have a grand plan, yeah.
Okay. They come to fruition how, though? What do you do that brings them to fruition?
That's a big question. Right now I'm working on my music.
Okay.
I'm also coaching people. I'm trying to expand or experience more and more, so I know what my niche is more and more. Because I like personal training, but personal training is already so vague, and that's what I'm enjoying, getting all kinds of different people to train with and seeing their struggle, and also struggling myself to find the perfect, which there obviously isn't, the perfect workout or the perfect training system. So we're just trying to get to know the people and finding the best solution that suits them. Yeah, that's what I like. I like the experience right now, and then further down the road, I will eventually carve out something that'll be uniquely my own.
So would you say that having those experiences, the array of experiences, gives you a bigger tool set in order to help people that you're training or just working with in a
definitely. I like to get out of my comfort zone as well. For example, I had a real high level of respect of training with athletes, just like yourself. Because I've been training like an athlete when I was younger, but I was always thinking about like, yeah, I could have done this and that, and maybe I would have been an athlete, or I could have been good in that kind of sports. So I was still training a little bit for like an athlete, but not really being an athlete. So yeah, and now seeing more and more how athletes actually train, training with some athletes in the past now, and now seeing you train at this, there's always something new. It's always so unique, and yeah, it's just exciting to have that in my life again. Just people who are going after their life goals, with so much passion and so much energy. You don't see that with a lot of people, and so athletes usually they're successful people in all the other regards, and other regards of life as well, since that mentality that they portray in their sports usually transcends into other aspects of their life. So
yeah, absolutely. So you see how do you see the blend between like artistry and then maybe you could consider it the performance side of like athletics. Like how do you blend those two things? Because the past few days we've been doing some workouts and like flow style workouts. But in your mind and your interpretation, like how do those two things blend together?
That's a cool question. So a lot of times we use routines and systems, and we need that for foundation. But after a while, after you've always, you did your run, you want to do your own kind of run. You want to do your own kind of style of moving. So you need a base, you need a system to start off, you need something to go off. But then to make it uniquely your own, as Bruce Lee would have said, that is the ultimate level. So I might just do, it can be something simple like, doing your laundry. You do your laundry, you do your laundry, you do your laundry. And then eventually you're going to do it with this certain flair, and it's going to have a certain bounce, and it's going to have a certain rhythm, which is uniquely your own. And the same goes for sports and movement. You have your own rhythm, you have your own frequency, and you're going to adapt some other rhythms first, and in between that you're going to find your own rhythm, and that's the art.
So as you talk about the flow of like doing laundry or anything, when it comes to flow in your own body, what does that interpretation feel like to you? Like when you're in flow, what does that feel like?
It's like a microcosm of the moment. I feel like there are a bunch of microcosms, individual microcosms of a moment you can dive into or dial into. I mean, it's basically, we can focus on anything that's happening right now, and so there's a lot of nows happening. We can focus on our breath, we can focus on something internally, externally. And so after focusing for a while on just one thing, you're kind of getting back into it, but then you're kind of getting distracted back into it, you're kind of flowing with it. So for example, when you're getting obstacles that are coming towards you, you're focusing really hard on it at first, and then maybe you're trying too hard, and then you're trying not enough hard, and then you're just trying hard enough. Just the right amount that just makes it fun, that makes it challenging enough. So there have been a lot of definitions of flow state. People say it's the optimal level of challenge for yourself. It's challenging enough for you to be present, but it's not overly challenging for you to feel like, oh my God, I can't handle it. It's too stressful on your nervous system. But you have also this capability of controlling that to a certain extent. So this is the challenge. Some people manage that or master that more easily or by accident, and some people consciously, and some people just don't even what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah. That's why I think water is such a good example of balance.
In general, nature is, we often get back to nature because they're perfect examples of these states of being, of things that are happening as below, so above, some scriptures might even say. And expand on the water. I thought that was cool.
Well, I think of water when you're talking about finding the balance of the pull of trying and not trying, and it's like when water finds its level, it's not rigid like a teeter-totter, where it's up down. Water has a flow to it. There's middle ground to it. When a teeter-totter's at balance, it kind of there's a lot of friction going both ways. But when you have water, it's like smooth, and then it all settles down. So I think when you were describing the analogy of like trying, not trying, the art of not trying, that's why water to me is a good analogy. So it makes me want to ask you, when you get into flow, what are the things that you're doing that allow you to enter flow? As far as like, what can you retrace and be like, these are the things that I know I'm doing to enter this state?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, for a lot of times, focus. So the focus on what you're currently doing and not getting too distracted. And the more things you can find around that singular thing, I have two examples kind of. So let's say I'm doing this like some fire art. I'm having like a torch or something. So I'm focusing on on it first, you know, just maybe playing it left to right, then up and down, and I'm gonna keep in there. I'm not gonna get distracted by, hey, the person saying this or that, and that's the hardest part, you know, at first other people or expectations or something coming off in your mind, you know, just and what you're focused on doesn't matter too much. It can be like how you grab it, how it feels. You know, there's so many options of focusing within that moment. Actually, that's the cool part. It's infinite, but still not getting distracted with things that are not related to that thing you're trying to do. That's what I figured is kind of the hardest. Next example would be also when I do music and freestyling. Like when I'm on stage, I felt like when I'm having this train of thought, and the best freestyles are the ones where you don't think about what you're trying to do next or something. You kind of get a little bit of ahead of time if you think about certain stuff, but you can tell, or people who listen can actually tell. If you manage to like completely let loose, then the best stuff comes out, and you're kind of letting go of the control what's gonna come out. And that's sometimes really hard for people to do. And also when you're freestyling, you kind of get distracted by what the people looking at you, whether they're hearing your own self-talk, if it's doubt or not, and that changes so many times when you're on stage and you're like freestyling, for example, because the mood changes of the people and of yourself and of the music, and there's so many factors around it, and that's what I felt like that taught me the most about flow states in the brain. But it's similar in all regards, because in the end it's a mental concept, and it's trying to stay there in your own headspace. You know, if you're an athlete, it's really hard. If you for example, if you're having it depends on the sport. Like every sport has a rhythm. So for example, there's you're gonna go really fast, and you're gonna have a pause, then you're gonna go really fast, and you're gonna go slow or something. So basketball, football, baseball, there's totally different patterns or paces of you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, you wanna to get some sort of flow state in baseball would be completely different than to get some sort of flow state in football, because you kind of have to like focus on the game with all its different aspects and remain within yourself and to have some sort of flow experience, because flow depends on you staying within yourself or with yourself. I feel like that's a big part of it.
So 2 questions, because I don't want to forget the second one. The first one, what self-practices for you personally do you know that help you best and to have the possibility to enter into flow? So your self-practices. And the second one would be, while you're in flow and you recall afterwards, do you find that you remember better what happened or not at all? Or maybe worse? So the first question being, like, what self-practices do you know help you, maybe before you go on stage or before you train someone or whatever it may be, that you can do to center yourself so that you can be in flow when you display your art?
I kind of trick myself a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
I feel like when I have doubts or any negative self-talk, I go back to practicing what I'm gonna do and visualizing. Like I visualize how is the best outcome that I can possibly perceive. What's the best outcome that I could possibly perceive? That's what I usually visualize. So I want to at least give myself the chance of achieving that. You know, you don't want to have, you know, there is going to be risks or something that might not go your way or whatever. But if you don't even like give yourself the option of the best result, it's a lot less likely to happen.
Yeah, to feel it before it actually happens.
That's what I'm getting to now. Before that, I didn't. It was hard for me to consciously integrate that feeling. It was more of a, you know, to differentiate between anxiousness and excitement is I feel it's not that easy at the beginning.
It's a dotted line. Yeah.
Because it's almost the same sensation. It's like, are you afraid of it or you're excited about it? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. It's both.
Yeah.
And until recently, I'm like, I learned to distinguish them a little bit more, and that helped. But what practices actually helped me was visualizing it. So me visualizing performing the way I want to, or doing the things in the way that I think I wanted to do, or flowing in the way. Like if I visualize myself being in a flow state,
yes.
so it's a lot easier for me to get into a flow state.
Absolutely.
Or maybe so, and it's completely individual, because some people, the way I do it will not work for another person.
Precisely.
So it's really hard to copy how other people get into a flow state if you've never experienced it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I've learned over the past few days training is like, when you train in flow, whether it's the stick movements that we were doing or some of the jumping or the movement patterns, whatever, when you train just being in that flow state, then when you get into sport, it's like a place you've already been. It's applicable whether it's in sport or working out or even in this conversation. Like when you practice being in there in your mind or in the weight room controlled settings, well, when you get into a sport that's rather uncontrolled at times, you're able to stay in that state. So very much so the visualization that you're talking about, I think the next level is, okay, I visualize it. I visualize, how I want to be in that state. And then it's like moving it from the mind and letting it sink into your body as you're visualizing. Like I'm feeling the sensation of what the ball feels like when it hits my bat, or the sensation that I get from putting the ball through the hoop, or the sensation of the crowd like rising as have the mic, something like that. So I think that blends into the next question, which is like when you get off stage and you've been in that flow experience and you try to recall it later that night or the next day or a week later, do you often recall it better in the moments that you're in flow, or maybe you had a performance that you didn't feel like you were in flow? Do you remember that a little more clearly?
That's like when I'm in flow, there's there are like moments that stand out. I feel like a lot of it is like a blur, but with like imprints of clarity. And for example, I remember the general emotion of when the first time I was doing some boxing with a friend, and it was exciting and I was anxious at the same time. I was 18 or 19. I was on a soccer field, and we were like 18 or something. We just wanted to bash our heads, and we had some boxing gloves. This other guy was another athlete. We were both doing sports at school, same age, and we were totally going at each other. I got a couple of hits and he got a couple of hits, and then I duck between one of his jabs, and I just saw that clear opening. I remember that clear as day. It was like a slow mo movement or a slow motion moment, and I was ducking and I saw that opening. I was just like, I'm gonna just expand that fist forward, and I knocked him off. And I just remember a couple of those slow motion moments.
Yeah, that makes me think of the quanta. Like, yeah, it's a wave, but the quanta works in chunks of energy. So as you're talking about in flow,
I can the moment, for example, when you're on a swing, and that moment when you're right at the top of the swing before it goes back, that moment of anti-gravity, that's flow.
Yeah, I love that.
That's that feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And now I'm thinking of it. Yeah.
So I think everybody should be able, if you've been on a swing.
Yeah. And if you haven't, you should go on a swing.
Yeah, you should definitely go on a swing.
It's the same thing as moving the kettlebells in that way when you're working with gravity. It's the moment that the kettlebell comes down, are you flowing with it or trying to fight against it? And it's that difficulty that's
why weights can teach you so much. Like sometimes I go back to simple movements, and I'm like, I'm just starting from scratch. I feel so many times I'm starting from scratch. I'm like, I'm not even doing push-ups right. Like there's so many ways. Like I'm not even contracting this or that right. There's so many ways I can consider doing push-ups or focusing on it. I could even like focus on my legs. I could try to do something else in there. I could just try to focus only the muscles I want to really focus on, or keep the core really tight. Sometimes you go really back to the basics. A lot of times I feel like you go back to jumping, or you go back to running. Like I don't know how I'm rolling off my feet. Yeah, fundamentals.
From the ground up.
That's what I noticed when I'm progressing in sports and doing all kinds of stuff, and then you're training and you want to get better, and you're going back to the basics because they're built on it.
So what are the basics for you? What are the fundamental basics of like a good life?
Movement and movement and nutrition and community.
Okay.
If you want to put it in clear and simple terms.
Yeah, exactly. So expand on maybe each one of those, like movement. What is that?
Movement, we're made to move. And most stuff that happens to us, most bad stuff, like mentally and physically, a lot of it, 90% of it, you could have reduced by doing more motion or movement, and it doesn't have to be a workout or something.
Be a walk.
Yeah, people just need to move more. It can be the way that we were just talking earlier about doing regular stuff in a more complicated way of pushing yourself, like doing laundry or dishes or whatever. You're gonna do it with your left hand now today, or you're gonna challenge yourself in a fun way, and that actually helps your brain create new neurons. Brain derived nootropic factor is being increased by doing uncomfortable stuff, or that you're not used to, not necessarily uncomfortable. And you can, that kind of feeling when you brush your teeth with your left hand, that's the kind of feeling when your brain cells grow. Like when you study and you're like trying to get it and you don't get it right. It's like when you try to throw with the left hand, it's like it's a good example because people can really relate to that usually.
Yeah, it's even funny. I mean, you asked me today while we were working out, you're like, oh, do you ever train hitting the other way just for your neurons? It's funny, you've never been to a baseball game, but your mind still goes to like, oh, well, if you hit one way, it would make sense to try it the other way. And that's exactly, how I think too, is like, well, if I hit left-handed, hitting right-handed would help, we find that balance. So then you go to the idea of nutrition. What does nutrition look like to you?
Yeah, nutrition is actually, I feel like this is almost the hardest, it's the hardest part to get right, because you can get away with getting some sort of movement right. You can get you a 3 times a week workout in or something. It'll have a pretty good effect on your life if you have it. But just, getting 3 good meals in a week will not do it. So the frequency of nutrition itself is why it's such a limiting factor. How many times are you going to eat a day? 3 times at least for most people, and what they're currently doing. How many times you're going to work out a day? For most people, a maximum of once. Pile that up to a week, it's going to be 21 times where you can change something positive for your life by nutrition, versus 3 to 4 opportunities you can do something by movement. And since we don't treat nutrition as something that vital as it is, me myself included, to the extent that I could be at least, it's a limiting factor on our health a lot more than we realize. So
you have movement and you have nutrition, and then community. What is community?
Community is that one thing that they try to sell us social media on. And
expand on that.
Well, we are social beings, and from my point of view, or what I've gathered, like only a few of us are made to live in isolation. It's funny that we actually one of the few people who could do it, who could pull it off. When we talk about community.
But I'm built for community. I think everyone is. Isolation is good at times,
but I just prefer it in a way of like, hey, I'm the shaman on the side. I'm on the outside of the village. I don't want to be inside the village. From time to time, I check by the village. I just do it to the extent that I like it.
Yeah.
We are social beings, and most humans, and to a lot, and we need that. And social media tries to use that need and abuse it and pervert it in a certain way. I mean, often, of course, the amount of usage determines if it's poisonous or nothing. But community in general, the connection to other people, feeling connected to other people, it'll make us better humans. We usually, as men, do a lot more for women than they do for other men, probably, or and we are better humans when we're trying to be better for other people. Mostly we do that for other people.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said that you're like happy in isolation, but community is one of the things that you mention as being a core fundamental of your
I
own
know
life.
it's good for me. Like I don't even want to be too much involved in communities, and people just, I don't know, I get too involved with their emotions and their feelings, and I then have to like cleanse it all and
so it can be the healthy space of while you're in isolation, you're able to kind of like create a more holistic being, so that when you go into community, you're your best self, rather than getting entangled in the community and kind of losing yourself.
Which I have been doing in my 20s, and I just came to that realization of how important that and the amount of solitude.
Yeah, it's that flow of water, right? It's never one or the other. It's like always in between. You kind of get lost, and you're like, okay, now I have to get back. And when you're, at least for me, when I find myself in the flow of like life, I find that balance of time alone with community. With one other, you just have that nice, easy flow. But I get caught up in the same thing of times of being like, I want community and I want to be so integrated into it that sometimes you look around and you can't even find yourself. And so I think that is so important to have that back and forth, and that's why it's important to have people in your life that can get close to you and understand you and be like, oh, well, for Leo to be the best version of himself around us, he has to have time by himself too. Not have people that kind of pressure you into like hanging out when you don't want to. That's not best for me right now.
Yeah, not that kind of community. You don't want to have that.
No,
none of that peer pressuring kind of thing. It kind of sounds like it to say, but more from an internal perspective, not coming from the outside. Like internal, peer pressure that you. But which is not really peer pressure. It's like more a social norm.
To please others. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we fall into that from a young age.
And community is really closely related to family and family values, obviously. But it's just like an expansion of that. We all need family, but community as humanity itself. And a lot of times we find. A lot of times people are looking for that community. That's what I'm seeing right now in society, that people are trying to connect. That's why I'm saying community, because they connect to other people. It's getting harder and harder, especially for people in Western societies who've been digitalized so to that extent. And a lot of people in the younger generations, they're struggling because of all that technology stuff, because this technology is separating people. That's why the Amish are, what they ask? Before they introduce technology within their community, they ask, is this going to bring us closer together or further apart? Okay, let's do that thought experiment. Cell phones. So if we have a cell phone and we can call each other from anywhere, is this going to bring us closer together or further apart? Further apart.
In terms of, physical distance,
Anyway, so they're going to say, okay, if why do you live so close together? And then they're like, well, if the barn of Mrs. blah 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 is gonna burn down, so that was the reason why they're not having cars. We can all build it together because we live close by each other. We can build it up in the next 3 days. If this barn burns down and we all have our cars and live on totally across the whole countryside, it's not going to be rebuilt in 3 days. It's going to take 3 weeks or longer, or whatever. So they notice their strength in community and certain values. And the same goes for them with any of new technology. They're just thinking, is this bringing the community closer together or further apart? Which I thought was really thought-provoking. It's cool.
Yeah, that is a good way to look at it. So what for you brings community together?
That's the whole psychology thing, and a lot of times it's dumb shit, but
well, it's not dumb if it works.
No, it's values. A lot of times
values, okay.
And values, and that's just top of my head, but I feel like common values, and then those values build traditions. The problem is with traditions, over time people forget why they do it or the reason why, and they just keep doing it, even though maybe sometimes it doesn't make sense in the time that they're
we lose the origin of it.
It's just like the flea who learn to only jump a certain height because they've been put under on a limitation with the glass or something on top, and now they're going to remove the glass, but they're still not going to jump higher because they've been conditioned to. And then even the next generation of flea are not going to jump higher than that original glass they put on, even though they never experienced that glass on top, just because they copied the jump height of everybody else before. They don't even know why they copy it. You know, and that's a nice metaphor as well.
So as we zoom back in from the macro of community and these fundamentals, what excites you most going forward? Like, what are you excited about right now? What can you say that you're excited about?
Personally, or for...
No, personally.
I'm excited that I made certain breakthroughs recently in my mind. Let's put it that way, and I'm more excited about life now.
Okay.
And sometimes I feel like I've been working on certain like mantras or visualization techniques and stuff like that, and it never really worked the way I hoped for it or wanted to. I know there are assumptions and all that kind of stuff with it, and recently I found a little tweak, and that kind of made a difference, I feel like. And the tweak, for example, was the wording itself, the vocabulary. Like, for example, you can, like I was saying, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. Like I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my daughter, I'm grateful for my body, I'm grateful for my health and stuff. But some stuff was like, okay, that's what you're supposed to be thankful for, and some stuff didn't resonate as much. And some stuff maybe I wanted to say, and I wanted to say it differently, or a different word would resonate deeper with me, you know, create a different feeling. So that was important, I noticed, or I felt like. So, and then also I feel like there was one thing missing, because I was like, okay, I'm being thankful for my health and stuff, and I was really feeling that. And from family, I was growing that feeling, because at the beginning I wasn't feeling it. So that fake it till you make it kind of works. But then I realized, okay, you're being thankful for parts of your life, but you're unhappy with yourself in your life, or unsatisfied, and you're not thankful for your life itself. There was a weird distinction, or a weird part that was missing, and that I included. And ever since I included that and expanded on that, like, I feel like my life was changing more.
It comes back to the feeling, right? You could say you're thankful for those things, but if they don't resonate in your body and the feeling, you always recognize the authenticity of it.
And and I had to be honest. And then I was like, yeah, I'm unsatisfied and happy because the things that I want are not working out the way that I want them, or fast enough. And I was being ungrateful. And I was being ungrateful to where I am right now. And that was a big realization, although I was trying really hard all the time.
Yeah, that
and now it's funny that...
authentic gratitude. Yeah, absolutely.
And there was a couple of days, or it's only a couple of days, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks or so. And it made a big difference.
Well, it's so funny how you can be on this, it's like a road trip, right? You go through stretches of nothing, and you're like, am I even making progress? And all of a sudden the big city comes up, or the ocean, like, boom, it happens so fast, you know?
If you're even on the right track, you be wondering, like, am I on the right track?
Yeah, and that's why it goes back to the
commitment.
Yeah, the belief in something that's bigger than you, right? Yeah. That has your best interest at heart. It's always taking care of you.
That was cool in one of your podcasts. That resonated with me as well. That prayer is the belief in something bigger than you, in its most primal way. That's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think that might be a good spot to end the interview. Prayer is a belief in something that is greater than you.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Same.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Leo Brauer. I know I did. I thought it was a very special interaction, you know, when you come into contact with people who are ascending as well. And that brings us into the word of the week. The word of the week is interference. Now, this word comes from quantum mechanics. And the first definition is the combination of two or more electromagnetic waveforms light waves, or other oscillations to form a resultant wave in which the displacement is reinforced or canceled. Now, the second definition, the process by which the amplitude of a wave is increased or decreased as a result of combining with another wave or with itself at a later time. And I spent some time studying quantum mechanics this week just for fun and trying to bring it back into the psychological world or our own, how it can be applied to humans. Obviously, it's the study of particles on the smallest level. And what I came across was the double slit experiment. Potentially you're familiar with it. If not, the double slit experiment, you can imagine a wave moving through a flat surface. And now we have a barrier, we have a dam, you can imagine. And in that dam, there's two open slits. Okay, well, the singular wave is going to move through both of those slits, right? It's going to split, and what you're going to get are resultant circular waves that move through each slit. Now you can imagine that they overlap because, from each slit you're going to get smaller, and then it's going to get a little bigger, and they're going to overlap. And this is where interference comes in to play. Each wave is either ascending at a certain point or descending at a certain point. Now, as they overlap, this is interference, is the overlap. It is the process by which the amplitude of a wave, so the amplitude of a wave, is increased or decreased as a result of combining with another wave. So if two waves are ascending and they interfere with one another, what you're going to get is a heightened amplitude of the wave. They will combine to make a bigger wave. Same thing with light. Those light waves will combine to make a brighter light. Now, that is known as an antinode. When they increase is known as an antinode. The other side of that is when one wave is ascending and the other wave is descending. When that happens, they cancel out. That is known as a node. They cancel out. There is no wave at that point. There is no light at that point. This is where the quantum comes into play, in the sense that the light doesn't go out. It's just in that particular instance, as they overlap, there is no light. There is no wave. And as I started to conduct a thought experiment with myself on the word interference, I found it to be so relevant to the human experience, to how we come into contact with one another. And specifically using this example of meeting Leo in the park, I consider myself to be a wave that is ascending. I'm ascending, growing, expanding. I see this character in the park and I come meet him and he happens to be ascending as well. Well, when we combine forces, when we meet, you're meeting maximum ascension. You're growing together. And that's what I experienced as we practiced, whether it was the dowel movements, the workouts, anything, you're feeding the energy of one another. And that's done whether both are ascending or if one's ascending and one person is descending, it's canceling out. How you are 100% a product of the people that you spend the most time with. So if we're spending time with people who are descending, yet we know we're trying to ascend, we're trying to, level up. How are we going to do that when we're around people and every time we're canceling out? Our energies are canceling out. There's nowhere to go. And in this analogy, I think that the quantum is a direct example on the microscopic level of what happens to humans on a day-to-day basis. And then it comes into the idea of, do we have the self-awareness to recognize when we come into contact with someone, is that energy that they're presenting us with, is it going to cancel out mine? And if so, that's not for me. That's not for me. It's for me to recognize that, step away, distance myself, move on. I'm a wave that's ascending. I'm a light that is ascending. Now, the universe is going to present you with all types of different wavelengths and amplitudes and people who are truly ascending, people who are staying level, and people who are descending. And that's where, as we embark on a journey of self-exploration, we create better awareness into the people that we're spending time around. And interference, the idea of interference is just such a perfect way to think about the experiences that we have with other people, because I've heard a lot of people say it recently, and it makes more and more sense to me every single day, that our most valuable resource is our energy. So if I know that my most valuable resource that I have is my energy, why would I not want to spend time around people who are going to amplify that energy? You know, we're gonna grow together. In any instance, sports, life, romantic relationships, whoever we spend time around, we're either amplifying that energy or we are canceling it out. And as you continue to move forward, it just becomes so clear to the self, this question of, am I ascending or descending? And I've taken this whole playoff journey that we're on right now, this time that I'm in right now, as a deeply spiritual experience to tune in to nature, to the self, to the ethos, to align myself to be the best me I can be for the team. The best I can be for the team. In order to do that, I have to center and align myself. And God, the universe, is going to present me with challenges, obstacles, opportunities that are uniquely meant for me. They're always uniquely meant for me and for me. And with this understanding, with this belief, the people that come into my life, with the understanding that they're uniquely meant for me, well, it's continual growth. And when I made it clear that I'm embarking on this spiritual journey, you know, the ethos provided me with a feeling, with another individual who is going to help you ascend. You're ascending, right? You want to ascend right now. You want to grow. You want to truly grow. Well, here is an individual who can increase the amplitude of your own wave. And as we reinforce this with our actions, our habits, our beliefs, it just becomes more clear in this relationship with God and the universe of what we want, what we need. And it's always going to be provided exactly what we need at the right time. And so as we move in to this next weekend, I have no fear, because fear is in personality. Fear is in wanting to repeat. I'm scared that I can't repeat what happened before. I have no fear because I'm not trying to repeat. There is no repeat. It is purely create. I'm creating the next experience. And the possibilities in that next experience are brought forth by my habits, my beliefs, my attunement with nature, the flow that I'm in. At that point, it is truly limitless. You are not confined to the rigidity of negative beliefs. No, we're expanding. We're expanding into this world of creation. And it's just true self-expression through sport. So I'm excited for the rest of the journey for this team. This will be a big weekend. Biggest weekend of the year. But it'll be the most fun weekend of the year. To get lost in the experience. To truly just be lost in the experience. To increase the amplitude of each other's waves till we become a giant wave. We become a tsunami coming through whatever other team that we play against. It fires me up. It's life force. It's the life force piercing through my body, ready to create. And winding down this episode, the question that we're just going to finish with this week is a simple one. Are you ascending or descending? That concludes this episode of A Thought Experiment.